We all need to look after and take care of certain things to keep them healthy, like teeth, plants, and pets. The same goes for our waterways, which play a huge role in our ecosystems. So today we're heading to the Mary River Catchment in southern Queensland to check out the good, the bad, and the ugly. Coming along for the ride are catchment experts, Eva and Caitlin.
This waterway is really important because it provides homes for all of our fauna, our aquatic fauna and some of our terrestrial fauna. It's useful for agriculture. We've got nice river banks that we can use for growing things, and also towns along the river draw water for water supply, of course.
Absolutely, so lots of life is dependent on it.
Yeah, that's right. There's a lot of good life in the river. Yeah.
Now, let's get down to business. Looking at this one here, it doesn't look too crash hot. Am I right?
Yeah, it's really in trouble, this stretch. It's very unstable. It's lost its riparian zone. All the trees are falling in.
I'm going to stop you right there. Riparian zone. Can someone please detail what on earth that is for me?
Okay, riparian zone is just that strip next to a river.
What else basically says that a river isn't doing too well?
Okay, well this one is pretty typical of a river not doing well. We've got no vegetation, as Caitlin said, along the banks. It's very, very wide. It's about 4 times wider than it ought to be, and it's not got very good habitat value in the water, in the stream down there.
Poor water and habitat conditions makes life pretty tough for many of the species that call this place home. Luckily for the endangered Mary River turtle, some parts of the waterway are in better shape, and Eva, Caitlin and some helpful students are working to make sure it stays that way. I've noticed in comparison to the last place that we were at, this has a lot more coverage in those leafy green things. I'm guessing that's a good thing, right, Caitlin?
Yeah, so the trees, they're forming a really nice canopy here, which is keeping the water all cool, which is very important for all the aquatic life here.
And what else makes this a really good river system?
Okay, well, as far as wildlife goes, it's just got all the habitat features that a creek should have. So it's got these wonderful stable banks, unlike the last place, and that's courtesy of the trees and all the roots on the bottom of the banks, so the trees come right down to the bottom of right to the water surface. And we've got different habitat areas. So we've got a little still pool behind you, and there's logs in the water, all these hidey holes.
Thankfully, there are people working to not only ensure the longevity of healthy creeks, but are also taking steps to repair damaged systems. Dick, well done on helping out the catchment. Now, what else are you doing? And I believe this fence here has some significance.
Absolutely. This is a working beef farm, and the importance of the fence is to keep the cattle out of the creeks and gullies, which we've revegetated to make sure we keep the creek healthy, to make sure, for example, that the cattle can't erode the banks, that they can't actually transfer the weeds and things like that that would otherwise have done. And basically the trees that we've planted, the native trees, shade the creek. They provide cool the water of the creek and make sure that actually more things can grow because there's more oxygen in the creek. We actually have to provide alternative water to the cattle, and we do that by pumping water up into tanks and putting it back into troughs. And also we have to limit the number of places that the cattle go across the creeks.
What can we do at home to help protect our waterways?
Don't throw rubbish into the creeks. Don't sort of transfer weeds. When you plant things, try and plant native species rather than invasive species. All these creeks and gullies eventually feed into the Mary River and out to the Great Barrier Reef. So anything you do to pollute or contaminate these waters potentially ends up damaging the Great Barrier Reef. And basically, remember that it's a very delicate ecosystem that needs protecting.
Sounds like a plan. A plan that'll see places like this flowing clean and clear well into the future. Don't zip off anywhere.